Hello and welcome to episode 4 of F1 Talk, and in this edition unfortunately there's going to be no pictures, but there's nothing really to release to you picture wise. There's only one more team worthy of releasing pictures, and I'm not going to do it just for the sake of one car, so I'll direct you to websites when Mercedes release their 2012 Challenger. Speaking of Mercedes, they topped the times for sessions 2 and 3 of the 4-day Jerez test for the pre-season testing. You know, they were just trying to understand the tyres better than the rest of the teams. They, Hispania, were the two teams with their old car. It's only Mercedes, Hispania and Marussia now to release their 2012 Challengers, and to be brutally honest, there's nothing to get excited about really. You know, we might see a brilliant car from Mercedes this year, but they have decided to take the approach of releasing late so we got more time to develop the car. Whether that will help or not is another matter, but you know, it's all foresight, and because I mean, if you've got foresight, then you know who's going to be world champion this year. So basically we can't read too much into the test sessions other than, you know, last year's cars seem to be faster than this year's cars. That's probably due to the aerodynamic rules that have come in force for this season, or for this upcoming season. To begin with, Ferrari weren't happy with their test sessions. That was until day 4 when Alonso was on his second day of testing, and he went rather quick. He posted the quickest time in testing so far, about a 1:19.2, and then later on that day he posted a 1:18.8. So, you know, so obviously Ferrari are getting used to their car. Their star driver, who is so far ahead of their second driver, unbelievable. They seem to be getting the hang of the new car. If they can get hang of the new car as much as McLaren and Red Bull get a hold of theirs, we're in for a good fight with the championship. Lotus, they seem to be pretty good. Raikkonen doesn't appear to have lost a step in terms of performance, and I can't see him winning a heck of a lot of races, if any races at all, because he's got 6 cars to beat first before he gets the top step of the podium, and there's no way 6 cars are going to retire in any race, never alone all of them. So Raikkonen will probably not win a race this year, but his initial pace in the Lotus in his first 2 days back in F1 officially were pretty good. You know, the Lotus seems to be a pretty good car because Grosjean was in the top 3 or top 4 of testing when he took over. So, you know, the car looks good. You know, like I say, we can't read too much into the testing times at the moment, but we've got a fair idea of, you know, how reliable the cars are going to be now. That's basically the only thing we can draw from these tests. The cars are reliable. They're doing race distances. Bruno Senna did about 65-70 laps during his first test session, so the FW34 is working pretty well. That seems to be, you know, I wouldn't say necessarily quick, but as I say, all of the test sessions at Jerez just gone all 4 days were all about making sure the car could do a race distance. Shakedowns, as I've said in previous videos. Onto a little bit of news. We'll start with what I've been writing down first. Lewis Hamilton actually says that he's in a good place mentally for this year's championship challenge. you know, every driver at the start of a season, if they've got a half decent car, will say that. All I can assume from this is the fact that he's changed his management team around. He's now focusing more on his sports, you know, rather than his personal life. And, you know, that was the thing missing last year, his focus. And be interesting to see how he does this season. Because let's be honest, Button beat him hands down last year. And, you know, Lewis was unlucky a couple of times, but if the real Lewis Hamilton steps up to the plate and takes it to the likes of Vettel, Webber, Alonso and his teammate, then, you know, F1's going to be in trouble. But McLaren have got to give him a good car. His contract is up at the end of the season, and if he doesn't have a good season with McLaren this year, I can see him moving teams. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there are 2 huge seats to be filled for the 2013 season. One of them is the second seat at Red Bull. The second seat is the second seat at Ferrari, because both Webber and Massa, I think, are facing their last seasons with their current teams. Whether Webber will retire is another matter. I haven't got a clue, and I'll probably pick up on that later in the season, depending on how well he does. I mean, if Webber suddenly comes out flying and beats Vettel and everybody else hands down for the first 7 or 8 races, he'll stay in F1, there's no doubt about it. But if he doesn't, and I don't think he will, it's definitely his last season with Red Bull, if not last season in F1 put together. Felipe Massa is living on borrowed time as far as I'm concerned with Ferrari. If results don't go his way, and I don't think they actually will, because as I say, he's got to beat 5 other cars first before he gets the top step of the podium. And Vettel, Hamilton, Webber to a certain degree, and certainly Button on last year's performances are better than him. Alonso is certainly better than Massa, and Massa, you know, could very well be out the car by the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, as far as I'm concerned. They won't want to do that, but they might have to do that. If Alonso's doing relatively well in the championship, then he's going to have to play second fiddle, which he'll do anyway. Alonso is Ferrari's number 1, undisputed number 1, and you cannot win the Constructors' Championship if your number 2 driver, you know, isn't even half as good. You need to be in the first, say, 5 places, but with both cars if you're going to win the Constructors. And Red Bull have had that reliability and strength in the last 2 seasons. Whether they will this year or not is another matter. The spokesperson, I would say, for Pirelli, Paul Hembrey, has said that this year's tyres created by Pirelli will light up F1 this year. Now, they did to a certain degree last year when the tyres were new, no one understood them, and, you know, they were warming themselves in, they were, you know, feeling the rubber around, and basically to understand them. And towards, say, like mid to late season last year, the teams knew the tyres inside out, and they knew how many laps or how far they could push them. Hembrey has said this year the tyres will ignite F1. So basically what he's saying is that they've had to go back to the drawing board, look at the construction of the tyre, and to sort of bring it out, so to speak. And hopefully, you know, it'll change again, which is why basically Mercedes have decided, well, let's get used to the new tyres first before we get used to the new car. And it's understandable. You know, you want a bit of stability, you want a car that you know will do a full race distance on these things, so you can get a good indication of how good you have to be with your new car. So, you know, it's an interesting take on it from both Pirelli and Mercedes GP at the moment. Ross Brawn, he does know what he's doing. Look at 2008, 2009. There I rest my case there. But you have to take into consideration, is the development time going to be enough for the car? Is one test going to be long enough? I mean, obviously you got the practice sessions before the Grand Prix, and when is this 3-day test during the season going to come up? Is it going to be a 3-day test during the season for all the cars at the same time, or can you take your test when you want to? Because if you can take your test when you want to, then if I were Mercedes, I would be taking that test ASAP to get as much mileage out of the car as possible. But that's, you know, that's just me. A couple more points. Bahrain Grand Prix. It's quite clear that the troubles in Bahrain have not ceased. There's still political unrest in the country, but Bernie Ecclestone, the money-grabbing midget, wants the Grand Prix to go ahead because he won't get his bonus otherwise. He won't be able to buy that Bentley, he won't be able to buy that Aston, he won't be able to buy that. For God's sake, Bernie, you've buggered us up as far as Sky TV coverage is concerned. Don't put the drivers' lives in more danger than is necessary. Stop the Bahrain Grand Prix, full stop. Not just last year, not just this year, stop it, full stop. It's one of the most boring races in the F1 calendar. It was a couple of years ago, and you know, you can't look at money before safety, and that's what Bernie does. You know, he's shafted us out of live coverage for every race as far as, you know, TV races are concerned. If you haven't got Sky, if you're not allowed Sky like I am, like I'm not, you got to watch the highlights. And in retrospect, you know, it's no worse than it was a few years back, but you've got to take into consideration that this guy's after money before everything else, and as soon as he goes, the better, one way or the other, retires or even dies. You know, it's not the fact that I hate him, it's the fact I hate what he's doing to F1 as a whole. You know, yes, he's managed it for 20 plus years, yeah, but those 20 plus years have made him a ignorant little person. I don't particularly want to swear on this channel, but he's completely messed up F1 for the casual fan. He's not interested in the casual fan. He's interested in the fan that could bring in huge sums of money to the sport, and that's what he's done. But that's another subject for another time. Basically, we can't read tremendous amounts into the first pre-season test. The cars have been shook down, they can do race distances. Now it's time to find the speed. So that's basically what the second tests in Barcelona will do, and we'll see, you know, what the cars probably are capable of. I mean, obviously, so that the first couple of hours of the Barcelona test will be all about, you know, getting used to the track and the temperatures and everything, but once the rubber's been laid down, we'll start to see some competitive lap times, and you know, we may begin to see the contenders for this season. But that's basically it for this edition of F1 Talk. Thanks for watching, and like I say, no pictures for the rest of the season. It's not a lot of point. I will be doing race previews and race reviews as the season goes on, with the odd, you know, special subject matter. I will post the fourth session's times in the description box underneath the video. Like I say, thanks for watching. Leave any comments in the comment box, and I'll see you next time.